For years, they were called strategic allies, brothers in ideology, partners in war. But today, they stand on the edge of confrontation. How did Pakistan, once accused of nurturing the Taliban, become locked in deadly border clashes with the same group? This is the story of how friends of the past turned into uneasy enemies. To understand this shift, we must rewind to 1947. When Pakistan came into existence following partition of British India, Afghan rulers persistently refused to recognize Durand Line border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, claiming territory under Pakistan's control. In 1960, Afghan fighters infiltrated into Pakistani territory to capture Bajaur and were repelled by the Pakistan Army. During the Cold War, Pakistan aligned with the US and the West, while Afghan governments were heavily influenced by the Soviets. Afghanistan was used as an asset to pressurize Pakistan's western border by India and the Soviet Union during the 1960s. When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan in 1979, Pakistan became the frontline state in a Cold War battlefield. Backed by the Central Intelligence Agency and funded largely by Saudi money, Pakistan's intelligence agency trained and armed Afghan Mujahideen fighters to repel Soviet forces. The war reshaped the region. Millions of Afghan refugees crossed into Pakistan. Weapons, militancy, and ideology flowed across porous borders. When the Soviets withdrew in 1989, Afghanistan descended into chaos. Warlords fought for power. Trade routes were unsafe. Instability threatened Pakistan's western frontier. Then emerged a new force, the Taliban, in the mid-1990s. Promising order through strict Islamic rule, they captured Kabul in 1996. Pakistan was among the few nations to officially recognize their government. For Islamabad, a friendly Taliban regime meant strategic depth against India, a concept rooted in Pakistan's rivalry with India. But everything changed after the 9th of November. When the United States invaded Afghanistan in 2001 to dismantle Al-Qaeda, Pakistan made a dramatic U-turn. Under intense pressure, Islamabad sided with Washington in the war on terror. Officially, Pakistan became an ally of the US. Unofficially, suspicions persisted that elements within Pakistan maintained links with Afghan Taliban factions. Meanwhile, a new threat was rising at home, Tehrik-i-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP. Inspired by the Afghan Taliban but focused on overthrowing the Pakistani state, TTP launched devastating attacks inside Pakistan. Schools, mosques, military bases, nothing was spared. Thousands of civilians and soldiers were killed. Here lies the irony: the Afghan Taliban and Pakistani Taliban were ideological cousins. When NATO forces withdrew and the Taliban recaptured Kabul in August 2021, many in Pakistan believed a friendly government had returned in Afghanistan, but Taliban tilted toward India, citing Pakistan as an unreliable partner. Taliban started to back and shelter Indian-sponsored terrorist networks against Pakistan. Geopolitics rarely follows emotional expectations. Instead of curbing TTP militants operating from Afghan soil, the Afghan Taliban leadership largely ignored Pakistan's demands. Cross-border attacks increased. Islamabad accused Kabul of harboring anti-Pakistan militants. The Taliban, in turn, rejected the accusations and criticized Pakistan's border fencing along the Durand Line, a colonial-era boundary they refused to formally recognize. What was once a strategic partnership began morphing into suspicion. Now zoom out to see the bigger chessboard. China watches closely. Through the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, Beijing has invested billions in Pakistan. Stability is essential for its Belt and Road ambitions. Any unrest along the Afghan border threatens regional connectivity. The United States, although militarily withdrawn, still monitors the region to prevent terrorist resurgence. Washington's leverage over Islamabad has reduced, but security calculations remain intertwined. India, Pakistan's traditional rival, has reopened limited diplomatic presence in Taliban-ruled Afghanistan. A subtle shift that signals changing regional equations. Taliban are the most essential tool for India to achieve its strategic objectives against traditional rivals like China and Pakistan. India had openly criticized BRI and CPEC and initiated heavy investments like in Chabahar to counter this project. Iran and Russia maintain cautious engagement with the Taliban, each pursuing their own security interests. In this web of global power politics, Afghanistan is no longer just a battlefield, it's a strategic intersection. For Pakistan, the dilemma is severe. On one hand, it cannot afford prolonged hostility with Kabul. Economic crisis, political instability, and security challenges already strain the state. On the other hand, it cannot tolerate cross-border militancy that undermines sovereignty. For the Afghan Taliban, the calculus is equally complex. They seek international recognition, economic relief, and legitimacy. But confronting TTP risks internal divisions, as both groups share ideological roots and personal ties formed during years of insurgency. Thus, what we see today is not open war, but calibrated hostility. Border skirmishes, airstrikes, diplomatic warnings, mutual distrust. This transformation carries a deeper lesson about power and pragmatism. Strategic alliances built on convenience often fracture once their common enemy disappears. During the Soviet War, the enemy was Moscow. After 2001, it was the US presence. But after 2021, when foreign troops left, the old glue dissolved. What remains is a raw contest over borders, ideology, and security control. Pakistan seeks a stable neighbor that suppresses anti-state militants. India wants to utilize Islamic extremism to achieve its strategic objectives. The Taliban seek autonomy free from external pressure. Both claim sovereignty. Both distrust the other's intentions. And perhaps that is the ultimate paradox. Movements born in shared struggle can become competitors once power is secured. The mountains along the Durand Line have witnessed empires rise and fall, British, Soviet, American. Now they witness a new chapter, a proxy partnership unraveling into rivalry. Will diplomacy prevail? Will regional powers mediate? Or will escalating mistrust drag both sides into prolonged confrontation? History suggests that in this region, alliances are temporary, but geography is permanent. And geography forces neighbors to deal with each other, whether as friends or adversaries. The story of Pakistan and the Taliban is not just about betrayal or miscalculation. It is about how global power politics, regional rivalries, and ideological ambitions collide, reshaping relationships in unpredictable ways. Yesterday's strategic asset can become today's security threat. And in South Asia's volatile chessboard, nothing stays permanent except uncertainty.